In this video, I want to look at some more of the most forgotten Lego Star Wars minifigures ever made. Jumping right to it, I want to talk about this Ithorian Jedi Master that was released in the 2014 Jedi Scout Fighter. This character, Nogata, or better known as Rusty, was introduced on screen in the Yoda Chronicles TV show, although the character was first illustrated back in 2004 for the source book Geonosis and the Outer Rim Worlds, published by Wizards of the Coast. Of course, today the character is very forgotten about and not relevant in any source material right now, and thus his minifigure is very overlooked today as well, and completely forgotten about. Despite this is still a really good minifigure for this otherwise uninteresting set that is definitely not as cool as the first Yoda Chronicles based set. It is one of the very few Ithorian minifigures and also has a really interesting and unique torso robes print, which is nice to variate your Jedi collection. Despite being quite forgotten today, it is still worth quite a bit at $42 US. The First Order had quite some interesting and unique troopers in their ranks that made decent Lego minifigures. But one of my favorites that is super overlooked and forgotten about is the First Order Executioner. This was released in 2018, which already is quite a disregarded and overlooked year of Lego Star Wars, and was seen in the First Order Specialist Battle Pack released this year. To many, this is one of the worst battle packs released in the last 10 or so years, and I can understand that it isn't the best battle pack ever, but personally I liked it quite a bit, and I think it is better than some people give it credit for. We got two First Order Executioners that was definitely the highlight of the set, and they looked really cool as more advanced or special First Order Stormtroopers, with black arms and the black markings on the top of their helmets. I think in any First Order collection, for those who collect these minifigures, the Executioner is a definite must-have and a really good minifigure that is only worth $5 today, which is really cheap for a Lego Star Wars minifigure that is around 7 years old. Once again from the sequel trilogy, specifically The Last Jedi, I want to talk about Finn in his Bacta suit minifigure. This was quite an exclusive minifigure that didn't appear in any sets, but rather in the Visual Dictionary released in 2019, as well as the anniversary edition of this book. Other than this minifigure being quite forgotten about, I think it was incredibly disappointing. The minifigure itself was good and depicted the version of Finn well, but as the exclusive minifigure in not only the Visual Dictionary, but also the anniversary edition of this book, it is quite bland and disappointing, compared to minifigures we have gotten in the past or in the future in books like this. It is, in my opinion, probably one of the worst minifigures included in a book like this, unfortunately, and this makes this minifigure extremely easy to forget about or overlook, as not that many people would go out and buy this book for this minifigure, and there are just so many different and better minifigures to remember from books like these. Today, this minifigure is only worth around $15 US. In the previous version of this video, I talked about how Jace Malcolm is quite forgotten about today, and after looking into some of the Old Republic minifigures, I realized a lot of people overlook and forget about Satele Shan as well. This is one of the main characters for the Old Republic storyline, and in my opinion the best minifigure out of the entire line. Specifically the Old Republic line, of course, not the Knights of the Old Republic that have some of the best minifigures ever made. This was released in 2012 in the Republic Striker class Starfighter, which to most is the worst Old Republic set, overshadowed by the Fury class Interceptor and the Jedi Defender class Cruiser, and the minifigures are quite overshadowed as well. Comparing to other minifigures from this line, Malgus is worth over $200, the Jedi Consular is worth around $80, the Jedi Knight is worth around $140, and then the Sith Warrior is worth around $75. Satele Shan, however, is worth only around $26. This is of course still a lot for a Lego Star Wars minifigure, but considering that it is a main character, released over 10 years ago, and comparing it to these minifigures from the same wave, it is definitely way more affordable with a lower demand. I think it is incredibly overlooked and definitely worth the amount it is valued at today. There were so many strange and interesting characters from the Clone Wars made into minifigure form, and one of these characters was Anaconda Farr. Although briefly seen in the prequel movies, this character is best known as a politician representing Rhodia in the Republic Senate. His minifigure was seen in 2 sets, most notably the Separatist Shuttle released in 2009, which is a set that is in dire need of a remake really soon, and then also in one of the Star Wars Magnet sets, alongside Newt Gunray and Chancellor Palpatine. It is also worth noting that this minifigure got its own keychain as well, which is quite a strange character to make into a keychain, to be honest. This character isn't as well known to most Star Wars fans today, or even the majority back when this was released, and as it is quite a bland and older minifigure from 2009, it isn't that sought after or remembered today. This one is worth only $7, which once again for a minifigure that is older than 15 years, it is also quite cheap and easy to come by. Another minifigure from the Yoda Chronicles mentioned earlier is the Special Forces Clone Trooper. This was included in the 2013 Jak 14 Stealth Starfighter, which is the most notable and favored set from the show. But the minifigures other than Jak 14 himself are fairly overlooked to most Lego Star Wars fans today. This one was quite interesting with this all blue design and the variant Stormtrooper helmet. It also had a nice pauldron cloth piece, which elevated this already cool minifigure a lot more. This one is quite pricey though, at $43 in good condition. From the same show and arguably more forgotten about is the Special Forces Commander. This one is very similar, just instead of an all blue design, he has a white overall design with some blue accents and arms, which in my opinion looks better than the Trooper before. This one was included in the Lego Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles book, which is a very forgotten about Lego book today that included a minifigure that before this video I barely knew about as well. Being more unknown and to many completely forgotten about, this one is so much more affordable than the Special Forces Clone Trooper included in the Jak 14 Starfighter, at only $13 in good condition, so definitely worth that price. Now, let me know what you think is the most overlooked and forgotten Lego Star Wars minifigure ever made, and then I will see you in the next one. God bless you and cheers.